Casey, good to get your perspective. I feel like everyone is going to hit you up for your data. So how do you do it? How do you find out who's trading what and how frequent and updated is your data?
So Robinhood actually provides a public API that gives that data directly. So it's something anyone can access. They provide it as a service to the community. I just wrote a software that connects up to that API and pulls it down every hour. So I connect and pull the latest popularity for every stock on their brokerage hourly.
Casey, I want to stick with Tesla for a second here. It's definitely the stock of the day. It's a huge stock on Robinhood. It's also the most shorted stock in America, according to S3 Partners. What are the changes you've seen in Tesla ownership over the year?
So over 2020, it's been a pretty consistent rise in the number of people owning Tesla on Robinhood. Part of that is just due to the increase in number of Robinhood accounts out there. Robinhood's seen a significant uptick in their user base since the beginning of 2020. But yeah, in the past, before 2020, it was a very mean reversion traded stock. People would buy it when the price went down and sell when the price went up. But since 2020, people have pretty consistently bought even as the price has continued to rise to all-time highs.
Casey, we want to ask you about bankruptcy stocks. We want to ask you about biotech. But overall, given all of the data that you've analyzed, what has been the most surprising thing for you during this pandemic on how people trade?
I think it's very interesting that people will take multiple different perspectives. There's definitely not one core dynamic that defines the way that Robinhood users trade. Like, for example, in the pandemic stocks, there's a lot of people who will buy ailing, rental car and airline companies that are being really beaten down, but at the same time, people invest heavily in a lot of the work from home stocks like Zoom and Slack. Also, people are very dynamic in the way they trade. They'll jump on news very quickly, as it happens. So people are definitely, they have their ear to the ground and they're trying to make the best trading decisions they can throughout the day.
Casey, how much are Wall Street folks, how much are hedge funds looking at your data? Have you heard a lot from them in terms of what they're looking for among these smaller investors?
Yeah, I've got plenty of emails from hedge funds, prop firms, other financial institutions who are interested in the data, but I've also had an equal or greater amount of interest from individual investors themselves. There's definitely a lot of interest from these larger firms trying to get a feeling for what the broader market is doing, because it works really well as a sentiment indicator. If you look at Twitter sentiment, you can get a good idea of what people are thinking, but with RobinTrack, you can see where people are actually putting their money. So it's a bit more of a direct indicator. It gives people an idea of what people are thinking about the stocks themselves, and that can give them some insight into trading it themselves.
So what's the flavor of the week?
There's been a significant increase in biotech and pharmaceutical action over the past couple days on Robinhood. Pretty good spread. Yesterday, Pfizer was one of the biggest gains, probably because of its vaccine talks. Then there's a bunch of other medical research companies and pharmaceutical companies that have seen an increase in users as well. It seems like it's a trend right now on the platform.
Casey, you're 23, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah, I was waitressing at 23, so props to you. But I wonder, what do you do after this? I mean, are you looking to launch something else on the platform that you can maybe sell, or are there interested parties in kind of teaming up with you or buying you because of this?
I've talked to a couple different people interested in advertising or growing or otherwise being involved with RobinTrack. So there's definitely some opportunities for future editions. But yeah, my main concern is just keeping the site functional and providing accurate data for everybody.
I mean, is there an algorithm to be made for hedge funds? If you analyze everything, do you actually see patterns, week in, week out, or does it really follow the news, as you say?
There are some patterns, and I definitely know people have at least looked into creating some kind of algorithms using this data. At the end of the day, it's just another data set. It's definitely not going to be enough to create a killer strategy on its own. But that being said, there's definitely some kind of value in it. I feel there wouldn't be that much attention if there wasn't. One thing to keep in mind, it is a slightly lagging indicator. You don't get down to the second real-time data from Robinhood, so you can't really use it to do market making or any kind of high-frequency trading. But there's definitely value in it for sure.
Casey, do you expect fewer retail investors to be trading once live sports betting comes back? We're actually getting some questions from our audience about that.
I think it's a possibility. I mean, part of what we're seeing is unprecedented. these apps make it really easy to trade. And once people are into the swing of it, it might be something that they don't really want to give up. It remains to be seen. I definitely think it's a possibility that people will move away from trading as much once things sort of return back to normal. But at the same time, I think this might be like a shift in the way that trading is done for all the future.